Welcome to my quick guide to the Cotswolds. This is a little part of the Cotswolds behind me here. You can see it, rolling hills, sheep pasture, beautiful villages, but this is a quick guide. I'm on Cleeve Hill, the highest point in the Cotswolds, near Cheltenham, so if you fancy hiking or walking, I highly advise you come here. But I'm going to look at 4 things today in this video. 1, where is the Cotswolds and how do you get here? 2, what is the Cotswolds? A little bit of its history. 3, where should you stay? And 4, what should you do? So I hope you enjoy. Thank you. So where is the Cotswolds and how do you get here? Well, you can see beautiful, beautiful Stow here, which is right in the centre, Stow on the Wold. And I thought I'd just start here because it's right in the centre of the Cotswolds. And we're about an hour and a half from London here. And the Cotswolds is an area of outstanding natural beauty. And it's very large. It's about 800 square miles, or about 15 to 1600 square kilometres. So this is somewhere you can spend 2 or 3 days quite happily exploring. And it's essentially west of London and immediately west of Oxford. So Oxford, Cheltenham and Bath really mark the east, west and most southerly points of the Cotswolds. And you can see there are hundreds, literally hundreds of little villages, towns, etc. like this in the Cotswolds. And to get here, you can get the train to, say, Oxford or Cheltenham. Or it's possible, but really the train doesn't run through the Cotswolds, so the train isn't really an option. You either take an organised tour, a bus tour, and you will organise 1, 2 or even 3 days if you wish, obviously accommodation inclusive and so on. That may be the easiest way, because then you'll see all the major tourist sites. The other option is to drive, and I would suggest that very strongly. As I said, 1 hour you can be in the Cotswolds out of London, 2 hours you can be the other side of the Cotswolds, and you can use 3 major roads to get here. You can use the M40, which takes you to the north, past Oxford. You can use the M4, which takes you to the south, past Bath and down towards Bristol, or you can use the A40, which goes right the way through the central. So you have a number of options to get here. And the major town in the Cotswolds is Cirencester, an old Roman town. And there's a fosse way which runs across the Cotswolds, north to south essentially, and is an old Saxon trading route, maybe 2, 3, 4,000 years old. But the whole point of the Cotswolds is you come with a method that allows you to explore and experience this quintessentially English region west of London, which is just fabulous, as you can see. So what exactly is the Cotswolds? Well, here in Bourton on the water, which is known as the Venice of the Cotswolds, you get some idea. It's an area of outstanding natural beauty. It's a very large area covering about 5 counties, as I said, west of London. And it's hugely popular with tourists. You can see here today, we have many, many tourists in this extremely popular village. About, as I said, an hour and a half from London, just down the road from Stow on the Wold. And the Cotswolds is full of villages, towns, hamlets and large towns in some cases, very similar to this, picturesque, with this honeydew stone. And this stone comes from what's known as the Cotswold limestone. So the Cotswolds is an area sitting on top of effectively of this limestone, and they mine it obviously for the buildings, but it also gives the Cotswolds this characteristic that it's known for: the rolling hills, the green fields, the stone walls. It's quintessential England essentially, and for any tourist who wants to experience quintessential England, the Cotswolds is the place to come. And the Cotswolds actually means sheep enclosure, because a cot in Old English is a sheep enclosure, and then a wold is a hill. So you have sheep enclosures on the hill and on the hills, and that's essentially what the Cotswolds is: beautiful rolling green hills with these little villages and hamlets that you can explore. And as I said earlier, there are various ways to come. You can take a tour, you can bring a car, you can walk. But if you're going to walk, and I mention this because some Italians asked me earlier, can we walk from Stow on the Wold to Bourton on the Water? And my answer was, if you want to do 8 kilometres, yes. They weren't dressed for it and clearly didn't. But there are fantastic walks around here as well, particularly if you're equipped for it, backpacks, walking shoes, etc. But you have to want to walk, not just think you can walk between a couple of villages. And I hope that here in Bourton on the Water, you're getting a feel for what is on offer should you come to the Cotswolds. There's huge history here. Many of these places are medieval. Certainly a lot of the buildings are 16th century, 17th century. If you go to Burford, for example, there are 15th century buildings, and I have a video on Burford. And there was a lot of strife here in the 16th centuries, 15th and 16th century, because the British or English Civil War really occurred in and around the Cotswolds. There was a lot of fighting here. The Cotswolds were obviously here in Saxon times and Norman times, and many of these towns, such as the one we're in now, Burford, or Stow on the Wold, were built by sheep. You'll notice that there's an Edinburgh woolen mill over there, for example. That's purely coincidental. But the Cotswolds were known in medieval times for the quality of their wool, and it was that money, that wool money, which came into the area and allowed them to build these fantastic buildings, and in particular the churches. Most of the money inevitably went to the churches, and hence in the Cotswolds you'll often see people referring to walled churches, churches built in the 13th, 14th, 15th centuries, particularly Elizabethan times actually. There was a huge amount of money coming into this area, and that refers to where the money came from to build these churches. The wool trade, which was enormously important to the United Kingdom, or England as it was at the time. Nowadays, of course, as you can see, the major business is tourism, and you have upwards of 8 million tourists a year who come to the Cotswolds to experience these picturesque vistas, the beautiful country pubs, the fancy restaurants, and the numerous antique shops and tea shops that you will find here. So you're coming to the Cotswolds. Where are you going to stay? Well, the options are numerous. The first piece of advice I would have for you is that, given, as I mentioned, there are 8 million visitors a year to the Cotswolds, don't leave it to chance. Book in advance. And my advice is decide, firstly, how long you want to stay, and secondly, where you want to stay. If you want to stay, let's say, a week, you might be best off getting either an Airbnb cottage, or perhaps going to a specialist company. There are many here in the Cotswolds who have luxury cottages and houses available, and rent one of those for a week, particularly if you come with family. That would be particularly good, I think. There are also, however, if you're here for a couple of days and you're moving around, plenty of bed and breakfasts, B&Bs, pubs, etc., which are ranged across the Cotswolds. Almost every town, hamlet, village, etc., will have a B&B. And some of them will be fantastic, ancient in age, amazing in medieval style, and just do your research, take your pick. But should you wish something a little more grand, for example, as we see in front of us here in Cheltenham, we have Queen's Hotel, one of the oldest hotels in the country, I believe, certainly a couple of 100 years old, and on the site of the original Cheltenham Spa. But you also have, for example, in Cheltenham and in the larger towns, other hotels. Here in Cheltenham, we have Malmaison, we have Hotel d'Avon, and there are numerous smaller hotels as well, and cheaper hotels, Travelodge, Premier Inn, etc. So you can go to the bigger towns, you can go to the smaller towns, and you have a huge range of types of accommodation and price of accommodation. But as I said, my advice very strongly is sort it out in advance. If you know where you want to go, and as I said, you should explore, then at least you can base yourself out of a hotel. You might choose to move in every night, which will be a little bit more stressful perhaps, but it will allow you to see more of this fantastic region. The other thing that you can do is there are some very large country houses which have been converted into hotels, owned by very well-known companies whose names I won't mention. But should you want a spa weekend or to be pampered and looked after in luxury, Cotswolds is perfect for that as well. So your options are numerous, your budgets are varied, and as long as you sort it out in advance, you'll have a fantastic time. So once you're here in the Cotswolds, what should you actually do? Well, my simple answer to that is explore. If you're on an organised tour, obviously some of that exploration will have been organised for you, but you can still explore the towns and the villages that they take you to. And if you're lucky enough to be in your own car or on a bike, then I would strongly suggest you get off the beaten track and explore some of the hamlets, some of the smaller villages which exist within the Cotswolds. The Slaughters, for example, Upper and Lower Slaughter, very famous. Small places, fantastic to explore. The same here, Winchcombe. I'm in Winchcombe right now. Just wanted to show you a different place, and you can see another beautiful Cotswolds town, as well as Sudeley Castle here in Winchcombe. We also have the Gloucester and Warwickshire heritage train, which runs steam trains and other heritage trains up a 26-mile line towards Birmingham. You can go, for example, to Bourton on the water, and as well as experiencing the river Windrush there, you can look at the model village there. You go 20 miles north of here, you come to Stratford on Avon, the birthplace of William Shakespeare, and on the edge of the Cotswolds. Fans of Downton Abbey can visit Highclere Castle, which is the manor house that Downton was obviously set in. And you can visit Castle Combe, also where Downton was set. You can go to Painswick, you can go to Bath. The area just has so much to offer, should you be able to explore. And to do so in a car or on a bike, or even on foot if you're feeling that energetic, although this is hiking, this is long walking. These are 20-mile walks, not a quick walk between villages, should you wish to do that. But you can see, you don't need to know where you're going. That's half the beauty of the towns and villages in the Cotswolds. Winchcombe here have fantastic shops, restaurants, tea rooms, pubs, and you can just spend the day wandering around, eating, if you're not driving, drinking, and enjoying this spectacle that's being created. The larger towns, in particular Cheltenham, Cirencester, Bath, Oxford obviously, although it's not technically in the Cotswolds, have amazing shopping, and I'd highly recommend it. And it may be worth thinking about staying in one of those, as I mentioned earlier. But you can see anywhere you stay, provided it's of a certain size, has fantastic options for everything you might want to do and experience here. Well, I hope you've found this quick guide to the Cotswolds useful. It's incredibly difficult to represent this amazing region, what it has to offer, in maybe 12 minutes, which is what I'm trying to do. I want this video to be no longer. So I suggest you do your own research, basis on what I've talked about, and come and visit, because it's amazing. If you like what I'm doing and you'd like to see more from me, please watch my other videos, and I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.